Thank you.
All right, the item passes. Let's go ahead and take up PH1, which is a plat, the Oasis on Biscayne Bay. We have someone who wants to get home to be with their baby.
Stephanie Brindell, Director of Public Works. PH1 is a resolution accepting the plat of Oasis on the Bay, which is located on Northeast Bayshore Court between Northeast 79th and 80th Streets.
All right. This is a plat. It's a public hearing. It's a resolution. Is there a motion to either up or down?
I'm going to make a motion to approve only for discussion purposes.
All right, there's a motion. We need a second for the purpose of discussion. For the record, we're discussing PH1, which is a resolution. There's been a motion by Commissioner Sarnoff, second by Commissioner Regalado for the purpose of discussion. Before we discuss it, let's hear the presentation, and then we'll open it up to the public. All right, Madam Applicant, are you ready?
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Lucia Doherty with offices at 1221 Brickell Avenue. Here today with Javier Avino and Iris Esquera from my office, as well as Eric Forden, who is the project representative. Last month, we had a request to give us an extension of time in order to record the plat. At that time, there was no action by the Commission, so what we did is we refiled the tentative plat, and we're back before you on final plat approval. This plat received final plat approval, the exact same one, in June 14th, 2007. And this was a time you may recall we addressed some of Commissioner Sarnoff's concerns at that time, and particularly as it relates to a billboard that's on our property as well as the city's park property, and one of the conditions that we don't pull a permit was imposed at that time. We cannot pull a building permit until the park property billboard is removed. But prior to that, on January 25th, 2007, the City Commission, for the second time, also approved 2 street closures for the site. And at that time, we also agreed to improve the park that we had agreed to give to the city. We had on this property 9 public hearings. 5 times it was before the City Commission for either street closures, final plats, or the major use special permit. And at that time, I must tell you that it was unanimous approval by every board that we went to except for 2 zoning board hearings. And they were 2 to 5 and 1 to 7 to 1. And we were very, very proud of the way that we worked with the neighborhood in the connection with this project. And Commissioner Sarnoff, I know this is not part of what you are here today, but I don't know that you've ever had a chance to see it and see the project, and it might be worthwhile showing it to you if that's something you'd like to see. We actually met with our neighbors prior to ever coming across and asking for any kind of approval. And let me tell you what could have been done as of right. If you look at this zoning map, the pink is C1. The yellow is office. Remember, those are 2 unlimited height zoning classifications. Here, all of this in brown is R3. It's not single family. The property in question is now zoned R4 on one side and C1 on the other side. But one of the things that the neighborhood said, when we first proposed this project, we were going to put a parallel building right on the water that was something like 40 stories tall, with a garage behind it. At that time, the neighbors went completely ballistic, and they said, there's no way that we could approve this, and the Commission, in the newspaper basically said, this is not something that's acceptable. So we went to the neighbors before we ever put a pen to paper or ever applied, and we proposed 5 different buildings and 5 different sites. So as it came out, here's what we ended up with. 2 buildings instead of 1. So you have air and flow through. We reduced the height, and let me just show you this area here. The area that you're looking at here, the lower scale portion, is actually the portion that is facing the R3 across the street. So the R3 portion is backed up against a 50-foot height structure. And all of the big portion of the structures is now on the highway. What you see in black here is the park that we're donated to the city. and it's part of our commitments to the city to actually improve the park and remove the billboard. So this is what we had agreed to the city, and again, the various things that we agreed to do was make 2 buildings and not 1, reduce the height down to 20 stories, make it R3 structure that faces the R3 property, donate the land to the city, clean the north and south canals at Baycrest, build a new wall and landscaping on 81st Street, improve the park, and now take down the billboards as well. And the Baywalk. Oh, that's a very important point. One of the things that the city required us to do is to build a public access and Baywalk all around the front and also have a waterfront restaurant. Currently, there's no access to the water. You can't get to this water, and there's nothing that would allow you to come through here. So this is the public access on our property and a public Baywalk that was committed. So the very first meeting that we ever had with the neighbors was with Sandra Seals, who lives 2 houses away from the street closure. Then we met with the Shorecrest Board. We met with people within 500 feet of the site. We met with the general membership. We met with two more board meetings, both before and after the City Commission vote. Besides the fact that this is a final plat approval, and the reasoning for denying a final plat is that we don't meet the technical requirements. In other words, the city is obligated to approve a plat if we meet the technical requirements. I think this is a good project, and we're very proud of the project and the way we've worked with the neighborhood, notwithstanding the fact that we may have 2 different people today than that were there before. So I would ask that we would urge you to approve this final plat.
Well, Madam City Attorney?
All right, Commissioner?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Now, is there anyone from the public, you want to hear the public first on this? Or?
No, that's fine.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Please step forward and be recognized. All right, Elvis. Those who will be speaking on this item, please step forward. State your name and address for the record.
Elvis Cruz, 631 Northeast 57th Street. Commissioners, I'm going to open with a brief quote from the book Suburban Nation, which was co-authored by Elizabeth Potter-Zyberk, your consultant on Miami 21. I don't always agree with everything in the book, but on these 3 sentences only I'm going to read, I do agree. And here they are. FAR represents an additional problem in that, in combination with a standardized setback requirement, it privileges large lot development. 2 5,000 square foot lots are inferior to a single 10,000 square foot lot in terms of their resulting FAR capacity, which discourages the involvement of small-scale developers downtown. Here's the punchline. This scenario leads cities to become dependent upon a few large speculative developers rather than on a diversity of local property owners. And therein lies the problem with this plat. This platting is a classic example of the problem of allowing unlimited lot assemblage. There are 16 different lots and a public street that have been assembled here. There is nothing this size anywhere near this property, certainly nothing this size in Shorecrest. By the rules of due process, the fact that you will be voting on this today means you have the ability to vote it up or down. Otherwise, there would be no reason to vote. Commissioners, earlier today, you did a splendid thing. You did the right thing in Coconut Grove by helping preserve that neighborhood and its character. I urge you to do the right thing to help protect and preserve Shorecrest and its character. I urge you to vote down this oversized plat and take back Northeast Bayshore Court for the people of Miami. The 2 individuals seated here are the president and vice president of Shorecrest. You heard Ms. Doherty speak at length about neighborhood approval. They will mention that the neighborhood approval was done, to put it diplomatically, under the radar. Thank you.
Speakers, please. 2 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
Okay, it's John Longchamp or John Longchamps, and again, for other statutes, Chapter 119, a former building inspector. I don't wish to make my address public.
Okay. But let's make sure we get your name. Did we get his name?
Yes. John Longchamp.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You can proceed.
Okay. First of all, I want to rebut one part of her opening about an extension